good the way we like it. We just basically press a button and it automatically uploads this information into the FAFSA form, and then it will all be done. And of course, we will still send you your FAFSA for your review to make sure there's anything that might need to be corrected, but it's going to be a lot better for everybody.
Right, yes, the process can be streamlined quite a bit. I've been doing the FAFSA here for us for quite a while and really excited about this program. So what we'll do now is kind of get started. And if you can see my screen here, this is the website that you will see when you go onto the FAFSA website, our software here. So pretty straightforward. What we're going to do here is just pretty much go through each section and kind of explain it to you. It's pretty straightforward, but we'll answer some questions and talk about that. And then also at the end here, we'll have time for a good Q&A session, because I'm sure there'll be plenty of that. So here first, you can see here is the basic information. Okay. So basic information, of course, you fill out for the student. I've seen some folks fill it out already. Make sure you put this middle initial in there. That's very important. Kind of step by step here. Of course, you want to make sure that you have the high school graduation year. Pretty straightforward, of course. But as we get farther down, grade level applying for. So, of course, first year undergraduate for most of you. I want to make sure you have that right. Again, we will be reviewing this to make sure it's correct.
Now, if those of you who we did the FAFSA for last year, make sure you get the correct grade.
Correct, yeah.
Because we're going to be using the same system for everybody, whether we've done a FAFSA for you or not. And a lot of the information that we did from before has been automatically uploaded into this for us, right, Chris?
Yep.
So when they open it up, will they see the information that's already in there?
Correct, yes. For renewal folks, you will see a lot of information that's already in there, name, birth date, Social Security numbers. Please double check the name, the birth date, and the Social Security number. I know it may sound silly, but you want to make sure it's the exact same as it is on your Social Security card. That's very imperative for all your new people. That will ensure that the FAFSA is filed correctly the first time and doesn't delay any time. So going down here, this is the first page of the basic information. As many of you can see here, pretty straightforward and not too difficult. They ask about SAT and ACT scores. This is not necessary for the FAFSA, but we still like to have this, of course. This can help, of course, apply to the non-need-based financial aid where we're at. Part of this program is also our Merrimack software that will show us which schools offer the most merit-based awards as well, too. So make sure you fill this out. It's just going to help us out more.
And then if you guys get better scores when you retake the test, go ahead and go back in and put in the better scores.
Yep, or let us know so we can be aware of it. Okay, so pretty straightforward here. We'll go on to the next section here. And again, you will be getting this email from us. Hopefully most of you have got it, but if not, it should be getting to you very soon. Okay, so here's the next section. This kind of deals with the dependency status a little bit here, family status for the parents. So, of course, up here, you'll put married, of course, or divorced, kind of where, really straightforward here, which one of those questions there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, we do have several divorced or separated clients, so make sure this is done based on who's going to be providing the financial information for the FAFSA.
Correct, and we've talked to you, many of you about that. So whoever's parent we're using the FAFSA for, make sure that's what you're putting in here.
And if you have any questions on any of this, be sure to send an email to the office or something like that, so that we can be aware of your questions and we can make sure it gets done right.
And many of you have my number. Again, it's 509-342-4721, and we'll be sure to help you out with that. So kind of the second part of this, you can see here where it talks about these questions. They're just trying to figure out your dependency status. So they're asking if you've been homeless or other things. Most of the time, I'd say 99% of the time, these questions are no for majority of families. We still want to take a look at them because there are some special circumstances that come up every once in a while. Okay? Okay, so you can see where you claim by your parents as a tax exemption in 2014. This is mostly always yes. Okay? These questions right here, parents' contributions toward tuition expenses, if any. This is most of the time zero, unless, of course, you're paying for private school, okay? For you incoming freshmen, for parents who already have kids in college, you can pretty much put what you paid for in tuition expenses for that year.
Sure.
Yep. Okay, and again, most of the time these are 0. I want to get too hung up on this, so we can kind of approach that later if needs be. Again, they're asking about pretty low-income families right here, food stamps and those sort of questions. A lot of the times these are no, but if they are, make sure to put yes. And then comes the parent information here, okay? So a lot of good information here. Again, I'll say it a million times, make sure that the birth date and social security numbers are correct. Only reason why I keep on repeating that because I've, from experience, so many years of this being incorrect, and it can really make some problems, of course, with PIN numbers and those sorts of things. So,
hey, Chris, I'm going to ask you a question. So let's talk about PIN numbers for getting into doing the FAFSA. So we don't want the parents to get their own PIN numbers, do we?
No, we're going to be getting PIN numbers for you, okay? We'll be getting the PIN numbers for you. This system will generate the PIN numbers, and so we will have those. So don't go about getting your own PIN number. If we're filing the FAFSA for you, it'll just mess things up. We will get that for you, and we will let you have it immediately. We have authorization to do that. And I see some of you folks are beginning to ask some questions. We will be getting to your questions as we can. Yep, so yeah, one question I see here is just running START students. They're still first-year undergraduate. They do start as incoming freshmen. Once they're there, then they'll begin to start getting on their other status.
Yeah, another question I see is you don't need to do the ACT test. The SAT is fine, one or the other.
And we'll get to some more of these colleges here in just a second. Some of these questions, excuse me. We'll just keep on moving along. All right, so here's the parent information. Again, pretty straightforward. We've mentioned to many of you that email address. Hopefully many of you have started to set up a special email address for just college stuff, and this is one of the most important instances right here. You will get notification when the FAFSA is filed, if they need anything, if there's a mistake, when the SAR is processed, the student aid report. So very important to have an email address in here that you check often, and that is maybe a special email address you make just for college stuff.
So Chris, another question. In years past, we wanted to put our email address in here. Are we still doing that?
We're no longer going to do that. We want to make sure, and we did that before because, of course, we found many parents lost the emails, and we wanted to be kept in the loop. But now with this system, we want to, of course, have you folks more in the loop, and we'll be able to see on our side with this system anyways. So very important that you know what's going on. So your email address will be used, and then we can check it through this website. Another benefit to doing this digitally like this. Okay. So they asked your education, pretty straightforward, college grad, not a college grad. Here's some information on your occupation. These are questions that are kind of on the profile more, but pretty straightforward, and you can just go through here. The best you can fill this out, the most you can fill this out, the more thorough will just allow us to do our job for you that much better. Okay? So family status, other household members. So this is a good one right here. So people in parents' household, that's pretty straightforward, of course. They're looking for students under 24 that are still declared dependent, all right? And number of college students in this year, okay? So if you have students in college already, even community college, all right, you want to put them here. Also, even if the student is considering going to college, you want to make sure and put that there because...
Yeah, well, because there are some instances where you might have maybe an older student who didn't go to college right away, out of high school, and they're considering going to community college. So it'll be to your benefit to maybe assume they're going to go to college, and if they don't go to college, that's okay. But by getting more than one in college at the same time, it will give you a much lower family contribution.
That's right. With 2 in college, it pretty much splits it right in half. So we want to make sure and cover all the bases. Max amount of number of kids in college. That's definitely believable, of course. All right. So again, here you can add family members. This is kind of a question, again, that's for the profile. A lot of you won't run into this, but you can click here to add a family member. They want to know about all the siblings as well. So just putting this information is good that we have it, especially for you, those of you who have multiple kids and also who are in our family plans where we'll be doing their FAFSA anyways. So good that we are aware of them and start to get some of their information like their birthday and where they're at and how far it is before they're coming up for college. Okay. Good. All right, so moving right along here. Next is the student income. All right, so student's income. A lot of times, again, this is going to be pretty low. but we want to go off shown on W-2s in box 1, okay? So if they are getting W-2s, we want this number here, of course. A good thing to be aware of, too, perhaps many of you are seeing this little question mark on the side of these questions. It's a really great resource, okay? If you don't understand something, these question marks can actually educate you folks quite a bit about this whole financial process because they will explain kind of the requirements, parameters, what they're asking for in each of these questions. So,
why don't you press one, Chris, so we can see?
So just for example, you push the question mark here, and up here shows a nice little box, and it tells you exactly what they're looking for in great detail. Okay. So pretty straightforward there. There are some questions that are not as straightforward, so that's a great resource, of course. You folks can always call us as well, but that little question mark can help you out quite a bit. Okay. Taxable earnings from federal work-study and other need-based employment programs. So this is for students who are already in college and have work-study. That's counted different, so you want to make sure that you get that in there. Okay. Pretty straightforward here again. Most of these questions below here are going to be 0 for a lot of students, okay? Alimony received, right? Okay, not a lot of students getting alimony. But also, let's just take a look here. I see here the filing status, okay? A lot of students maybe won't file. You want to make sure if your student is not going to file taxes, and perhaps even they made a little bit of money under the table, you want to make sure and put here, will not file. That'll, of course, save everyone some time. Going down the list here, payments to tax-deferred savings plans, etc. Again, you can read through these. This is still pretty easy and straightforward. We haven't gotten to the complicated stuff yet. Most of this is 0, okay? All right. Anything to add here, Stuart?
No, that's good for the students. Remember, the students can make around $5,000 before it's going to hurt their FAFSA, their family contribution. So I would encourage students to work and not be concerned that they're going to hurt themselves for financial aid.
Yep. Okay. So that's student income, all right? Now we're going to go to student assets, of course. All right, again, pretty straightforward here, asking about cash, checking, and savings. Here's a good custodial accounts, UGMAs and UTMAs. So I know many of you I spoke with have had these accounts. This is where you put it in here. Again, if you don't quite understand it, you can push some help, and it talks about it all the way down, all the good information there, okay?
So remember, if you guys have any of these accounts, hopefully we've talked about it and have decided whether you're going to shelter this money or not, and because this money really hurts the family contribution quite a bit. Any money in the student's name, we really want to try to shelter it before we do the FAFSA. So if you have any questions on whether we're going to do it or when or how, be sure to let us know, because we still have plenty of time. It's just the middle of November, and if we haven't done something that we need to do, let's get working on it right away.
Yep, and we're meeting with many of you seniors who's kind of crunch time, of course, that I've signed up here. We have meetings here coming up in December, so very important that we keep those meetings and keep moving forward. Okay, so again, pretty straightforward here with the assets, stocks, bonds, communities. Most students don't have those. Most students don't have those.
No.
So we're in good shape here. I know some of you do have trust, so something to be aware of. Again, we want to talk about possibly moving those, and very good to be very candid and upfront. Let us know everything possible. That way we can address it. Okay. Moving right along. Parent income. Of course, when it gets into the parent assets, that's when it starts to get a little more income and assets. It starts to get a little bit more complicated. So here we go. Parent income, box 1 on the W-2. Pretty straightforward.
Now you guys will not have your W-2s by the time we do the FAFSA. So this is where you got to do some estimating. So what we typically do is look at your paychecks, the latest paycheck that you have. So send those in to us along with all the other documentation that we'll talk about later. But you want to try to estimate how much your income is going to be for 2014, and that's what they're looking for here. Because eventually, when we get your taxes done, or you guys get your taxes done, that tax information will have the true W-2 information in there, and so it will amend the FAFSA to be the actual numbers.
Yep, two-step process. Of course, we're using estimates right here in the beginning for income, and then, of course, when you get your taxes done, we'll be updating the FAFSA. So I definitely encourage all of you as well to get your taxes done as soon as possible. Okay. Going down the list here, okay? Again, they talk about work-study, not applicable for many parents. Federal tax status, filing status. Most of you know that. Married filing jointly, for example, or head of household.
So the filing status will be, click.
Okay, so the filing status here, here's the explanation here. So, of course, it won't already be completed. The majority of you, actually probably all of you, are going to put will file, okay? Because, of course, your taxes won't have been done yet, and it talks about that right up here. Will file, okay? All right. Eligible for 1040 EZ. This, again, is mostly always no, okay? Usually always no. Most parents do not qualify or are not eligible for the 1040A or EZ form. Number of tax exemptions claimed, pretty straightforward. Taxable interest, a lot of parents don't know this. If you don't know something like this is kind of complicated, of course, click the question mark. But I'll be honest with you, most of the times these questions are zero, okay?
Or you can look at last year's tax return if you really want to.
Exactly, yep. Okay. Going down the list here, it talks about business income or loss for users who have businesses. Again, be as know as much as possible, Stuart.
Yeah. So this is for people that do not have S corporations or LLCs. Maybe they just have a little small business that's not incorporated. This is where that would go. This would be similar to what you did on your tax return last year. So you know, that's the best way to do it. And if you have any questions, just ask us.
Talks about IRA distributions. Okay, very good to be aware of that. Money that you pulled from retirement.
Yeah, so that'll all be taxable. That'll count against you for FAFSA. So again, we hope you're not pulling any money out of your IRA where you got to do that unless we've already used that in one of our strategies.
Okay. All right. Kind of the same straightforward stuff here, referring to that. Okay. Farm income or loss, unemployment, Social Security benefits. I know many of you are receiving Social Security. This is where this would go. Okay. Pretty much they're talking about taxable income here in the first part, and then they'll talk about untaxed income. Okay. Here are some of the untaxed parts, right, Stuart? Yep. So there we go.
These are things that were deducted out of your paychecks, pretty much.
Yep. So of course IRA deductions, etc.
Health insurance deductions.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So going down a little bit farther, educational credits. These, of course, happen for a lot of parents who have kids in college already.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a lot for you freshmen coming into college, you won't have to worry about this. But we'll definitely be able to catch this for you. This is an important one. Of course, you get a tax credit for sending your kids to college. Okay. Untaxed income and benefits. So this is where we got to be careful. This can really hurt you for financial aid sometimes. Payments to tax-deferred savings plans. Try to figure that out. Your yearly contributions to the IRAs and 401ks, etc.
Right. So that will be, actually, these will be added back because they're not, it takes away from your taxable income, but as you guys probably know by now, they add back any 401k deductions from your paycheck.
Okay. Child support, etc. Pretty straightforward. Good questions to look at. If you don't know something, hit the question mark, of course, or let us know. All right, so that covers the parent income section. And a good bet too, a good thing, all you folks have my email. If you haven't got this email yet from this our FAFSA website here, make sure and just let me know via email, or you can call here into the office so you can get going on this. Okay, so here's parent assets. Okay, cash, checking, and savings. Really good stuff to know here. You hit the question mark. It lets you know exactly what they're looking for. Okay, so they don't want you to, of course, report your 401k or retirement assets here. They're just asking for cash on hand, checking, savings, that sort of thing.
Mutual funds.
Yep. There's a place for the mutual funds, money market. Definitely keep it all separate.
Okay, then this is where it's important in getting documentation to us. So you'll be putting information in here, but then we want to have like a copy of statements that really can verify what these, how we get to these values. So if they ever ask for verification, we'll have it right at our fingertips how we got these numbers, and we'll all stay out of trouble.
And verification is just kind of random. It happens to a lot of first-year folks, so I'm sure maybe some of you second, third-year folks are aware of it. And this ensures us that verification will go smoothly, okay? Because they'll ask for asset verification, income verification. So for any assets you have in these columns, we make sure to send us documentation on that. And you can fax it into our office, and those numbers are on our email, and we'll let you know that towards the end. Okay. So now that talks about business here a little bit. Would you like to talk about that, Stuart?
Yeah. So for those of you who own businesses or own rentals or things like that, we're needing to have the information in here, but as long as it's considered a small business, it will be excluded and won't count in the FAFSA. So go ahead and put it in here. It won't go into your FAFSA unless you have more than 100 employees. And if you have more than 100 employees, then it's no longer a small business. So anyway, so if you have any questions on this part, let me know. For those of you who we're talking about, business ownership, whether it's again an LLC or a corporation. Same thing with small farms. I don't think we have very many farmers in our group here, but that can also be excluded if you live on the farm. That's the key.
Yeah. Okay, this next part kind of talks about children's assets, and it's a little confusing here. So we're still in the parent assets section, okay? But the reason this is in here because a lot of folks mistake that these 529s and these sort of things are children assets, but they want to be counted under the parent assets section. So a good place here, of course, is to hit the question mark, see exactly what it says. They're asking for total assets of non-college siblings under 19. So for younger siblings who perhaps have 529 plans or those sorts of things, this is where we want to put this, okay? And so a lot of information here to read through. We could talk about it for a while, but definitely good for you folks to read through this if you have these kind of assets. They're asking for 529 college savings plans for all children. This is where you put that. All the children, just not the children that are coming up for college. 529 is a parent asset, okay? So they want to lump it all together, all right? So this kind of under the children's section for the kids here, all right? So good information there. If you have any questions, of course, let us know. Parents' housing status, very important that you get that right. Pretty straightforward, of course. These are questions, again, that usually fall into play for the profile, but just knowing these questions are very good for us. That'll help us, of course. We've already taken a lot of this information down. It just helps us keep a good track on things, and so we can help you out as much as possible. Anything else, Stuart, here?
Or to talk about other investments like property or anything like that they might own?
Oh, a little bit towards the bottom here. I think you can add.
That's their residence.
That's their residence. So let's go on to the next. Definitely, that would probably be added in here. If you have any other rentals or things, just let us know. We have that information already in your file, and so I don't.
Right here, non-home real estate.
Here we go, non-home real estate. Here it goes, right here towards the bottom, of course. And this is where your rentals would come into play. And many of you, we already talked about the strategies for those. Okay. Okay, so getting pretty much done here, pretty straightforward. This should only take you maybe a half hour at the most to go through this, hopefully, maybe definitely under an hour. College information, okay? So this is where you get to put the colleges down, and again, we can do a lot of this for you here. We know what colleges you're looking at,
Not really.
but we know a lot of them. But this is where you can add the colleges. And so pretty much if you click on this here, you can kind of start with step-by-step process. Of course, you click the state. Go to Washington. You can choose from a list. Of course, there's an alphabetical order, so you can find the college. And just go down the list here.
So I would say, you guys, this is actually quite critical that you fill in for us, because even though we talked about possible colleges that students are applying to, we really don't know which ones are coming up that they're really going to apply to.
Yeah, so this is good. It's very valuable here too. This is going to let you know to make sure that no colleges are missed. That's happened in the past. Sometimes colleges come up, so this can ensure that we have every single college that you're interested in.
So even if you're not sure if you're going to apply to the college, put it in here because it doesn't hurt.
That's right.
To have it in the FAFSA.
And remember, we can put up to 10 colleges on the FAFSA. You don't have to apply to all those, but a lot of colleges are good to show the school this. I definitely have your top ones towards the top of the list, but you can put a lot of schools in the FAFSA. Most of is going to be regular decision for most of these schools. But those of you who know, you'll probably have early action and those sorts of things as well. But that's where you can choose this right here. Most of them are going to be regular decision, though.
Or renewal.
Or renewal, of course.
If you're going to the same school,
yep.
continuing.
Exactly.
Or transferring from a community college to something else.
And then quite simply, you just hit add, and there it goes. All right. Okay, so then when you have these colleges, you want to you can put them as preference, top to bottom. Of course, you can put living on campus or off campus. Pretty straightforward there.
Usually put down that you're living on campus, because that will probably give you a better award from the beginning.
Correct, yeah. So the college's room and board levels are usually higher for cost of attendance. So just put down on campus, kind of a good strategy there, of course, even if you're not quite sure. All right. So pretty straightforward. Here's some more complicated information where it talks about the profile. This is for the CSS profile for you families that perhaps are going to those private schools that require this form. Really good to help us out here. So for these schools, it does cost a fee to apply and even a small nominal fee for each school that you'd like the information to go to. That's why they're asking about your card type, so it can be quickly filed. So as soon as it's done, it can be paid for and quickly filed. On average, I've seen the fee for the application fee in the schools around $30 at most, so not too bad. But for those profile schools, they do cost a little money to send the information to them. Okay?
So these are questions that would not be on the FAFSA. So these are going to be information that we probably don't have at this point from you guys that we'll need to get from you so we can do the profile in a good way.
And again, if we're not doing a profile school for you, and it's not a profile school, you can look into that and let us know. You don't have to fill this out. All right? So pretty straightforward. You can see here, this is kind of good to write into for some of you who may have had special circumstances. So when negotiation comes up in March and April, this is where we can possibly use some of this stuff. Again, this doesn't happen all the time, but if you have any kind of circumstances, like maybe a loss of income, a death of the family, those sorts of things, you can write these special circumstances here.
Yeah, or other special circumstances we talked about. Maybe you had a big capital gain because you sold something, and it's just a one-time shot. That's a special circumstance because it won't happen again. So they look at that as special circumstances, or maybe you got some big stock option or some inheritance or some special thing that's going to show up as income that won't be, that you didn't do in the past and will most likely not be in the future. We can always count that as special circumstance too. And most of the time we've talked about this in our meetings. So just put that in here as kind of a reminder so that we'll have it all in one place.
Okay. What we're going to do now is open it up for questions a little bit here. Right, Stuart?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what we'll do first is kind of go through some of these questions that you folks have already asked, and see how we can answer those. And then
Repeat the question.
And then we'll go back and actually take a look at, unmute a couple of you if you'd like. You can raise your hand. Okay, if you can see on to the right of your board there's a way to raise your hand, and we can answer some questions that way too. So, okay, let's go look at a couple. Okay, we answered that one. So yeah, if we have an SAT, do we need ACT? Definitely not at this point. Pretty late in the game here, of course. So if you just have the SAT scores, that's good. Get those in there. But again, all the information that you can put in there, the better. We want to take a look at that.
Okay, so what if a student is living at college? Well, that's what they're doing. They're living at college. They're living on campus there, but they're still considered, as long as they're under 24,
Correct.
they still consider your home as a permanent address. So which address do they use for the FAFSA, Chris? They probably use the permanent home address, right?
The permanent home address of the family member that we're filing the FAFSA for. If they're married or divorced, we want to make sure primary address there. Grades needed for a sophomore. Well, that's a great question, Wade. Good to hear from you, Wade. So grades needed for a sophomore. Not quite sure what you are looking for there, but we can talk. You can email that to us, and we'll try to answer that. Okay, what does primary applying parent mean? Great question. I really like that one there. Okay, so what that means is that's the parents that we're going to use a PIN number for. Okay, so the student has a PIN number, and the parents have a PIN number. Okay, now both parents can have one, but only one need one. Only one needs a PIN number. So the primary parent is the one who's going to have the PIN number that we're going to use to sign the FAFSA. Okay, so that's all that means. Okay, for renewal, use student PIN, SAT information, leave blank. Sure. For a renewal, yeah, Brian Johnson, good to hear from Brian. Okay, so We do not need, of course, their SAT information. We have that already, so that's fine.
We already have the PIN.
We already have the PIN numbers, so we can put all that good stuff in there. Yep, many of you who have second, third year students, we already have PIN numbers for you, and this is going to, of course, make this process even quicker. Okay, next question. Under retirement plans, what is meant by union employer and civil service state? Okay, what goes under other? That's a great question right there. So, good idea to probably hit that question blank there, but what do you think, Stuart?
Well, a union employer, so I don't know. All I know is that unions oftentimes, you know, they have pension plans for their union members, and so, you know, people are not. The employer is actually paying the union for the retirement plan, and so the employee is not putting any money in himself.
Yep.
So we don't need to count the money that the employer pays to the union.
And this is another question that's usually on the CSS profile I've seen too. So if you're not quite sure, most of the time you can leave that, put a 0 there from what I've seen. Okay. There's a high school student. We count that as a student in college.
No.
No. So no high school. If you have a high school student, that's not a student in college. Okay. If they were going to be, if you had twins and they were both seniors right now in high school, then yes. Okay.
And now some people have asked me if they have a high school student in running start because they're going to a community college or something. Does that count? It doesn't.
It doesn't. Okay.
No. It still counts as them being in high school. Of course, once they graduate high school and they go to community college, and that would be just fine as a college student.
Okay. Do we need to list a savings bond in the student's name? Okay, yes, that would be a student asset.
Actually, savings bonds are really considered a parent asset because the students, they're not, unless they're 18 or older, they really can't do anything with that money. It's really still a parent asset.
That's right. Thank you, Stuart. All right. Okay, what if a student had an UGMA account in 2013, but they're at the end of 2014? But not at the end. Okay, so they don't.
So then we wouldn't count it because we're only counting all your assets based on when we do the FAFSA. So if those assets are gone or we've sheltered them or moved them or done something with that asset, we don't put it on the FAFSA. Or if we're getting ready to move it or something, don't put it on this form.
So I see here again, where would savings bonds go? That's coming up quite a bit. I'm pretty sure that goes under the parent asset side. It asks about cash. It's right there where it asks about cash, savings, mutual funds. There's a section there that asks about savings bonds. If it's not clear, you can hit the question mark, and it will come up and list that. I've seen it, okay? Yep. So that's a parent asset, and that will go. Yeah, it's right below, I believe, the savings bonds. It also talks about stocks and bonds, right by stocks, I believe. Can they be copies?
Oh yeah, any information you're going to send us to verify assets and pay stubs and things like that, we just want copies. You can scan them, fax them, mail them, whatever is the best way to have it.
Fax is the best, and our fax number is 509-474-1158. Scan and email works as good as well too. Okay.
Yeah.
Can we use last year's W-2s to start? Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, as long as pretty even numbers from the year before.
Yep.
That would be good. And then if you know there's some adjustments, maybe you can kind of add or subtract from that.
Exactly. Yep. Is there a filing status for divorced? Absolutely. Okay. So that's right underneath the beginning where it talks about filing status, married or in a domestic partnership, divorced. It'll ask about that. Okay. So that'll be right there in the beginning under dependency. Okay. One of the first questions. Okay. Are divorced parents filing this together, or is each one filing a separate FAFSA form? Well, good question there. Okay. So we are just, if our parents are divorced, we want to use the parent's number that's a custodial parent. But we've talked about this before with many of you that some instances where we could use the other parent's number, if of course they're still in the same city, they're still around, that sort of thing. So we call us if you're not quite sure, but we're using just one, if you're divorced, just one parent's number is on the FAFSA. Copies of our pay stub, absolutely, we like those. Copies of the pay stub works. Okay. So there's no profile school column on your forms. That means that you don't have a profile school. Okay. So if you want to double check that, of course, you can call into our office, but the profile column will not come up if you don't have a profile school. So the kind of the test subject we went over pretty much just had everything listed out so we could cover all the bases for folks. Okay. Okay, so profile school is just a quick explanation of those. Profile school, those are, so they're required by the private schools, and
about half the private schools.
About half the private schools in the country. They have more funds, so they want to know more about you, okay? So that is outside of the FAFSA, so it's more questions to fill out, and the trick is it has to match the FAFSA, and that's why we want all this information now. So those are profile schools, and there will be, if you have questions about those, you can go ahead and send those to us, and we'll let you know. Okay. Okay. Well, I see some.
Oh yeah, I haven't got an email yet.
All right. See a couple folks. I see a couple folks that may have not gotten the email or missed out on that. This is being recorded, so it'll be on our website very soon as well for all to listen to.
Well, what you're talking about, I think, is the email that they can get.
Oh, of course, yeah. So again, we are going through our system. A lot of folks have gotten that email already. If you haven't got it by December 1st, be sure to let us know. Okay. Is there an option for parents divorced student living with mother who has been remarried? I didn't notice that as an option. Okay. Okay, good question here. Oh, I can see here. So that's just one parent, of course. Okay, parents divorced, student living with mother who has been remarried. Okay, so that's a good question. So if the mother is a custodial parent and she is remarried, then it goes off that her new husband's numbers. Okay, both parents. Okay.
Not so the mom who has a custodial parent and her new husband.
Yep.
So our strategy is to try to make the situation as good as we can for the FAFSA. So we need to talk about that to try to give you guys the best possibilities.
Okay, here's a good one. If your rental house is an LLC, do I need to list that as a rental house section?
I would say you don't need to.
Okay. That does fall under one of the exclusions we talk about, so that's a no. Okay, already have PINs established for FAFSA. Is this going to be a problem? No, it's not. If you already have PINs, and we have, this is your first year, and I can see that it is, from Roxanne, if you already have PINs, make sure you let us know those, okay? And I think there's actually a place to put the PIN numbers in there, right there in the college selection part of it. So go ahead and put those PIN numbers in there. If you have a problem, you can go ahead and give me a call, and I will, I'll get those PIN numbers for you. Okay, if our second daughter is going into Running Start, does she count as a community college student? Again, we addressed that. Students in high school do not count, even if they're on Running Start for kids in college. Okay. A lot of questions also about sophomores needing grades in the very first section. Again, no, if it's not applicable, if they're already in college, a lot of that stuff for the incoming freshmen is not required. So if I have two students, one a senior and one a sophomore, do I add both of their 520 appliance for the total? That's a yes, okay?
Where is GET program put?
Okay. Where is the GET program put?
Mm-hmm.
So that's right kind of in the 529 section as well. They talk about those college savings plans, and that's where you put that.
The value. So
the value.
You figure, we figure about $12 per
12,000.
12,000 per 100.
Oh, okay.
So $12 per unit.
Okay.
That's approximation, and so that's good enough for now. If you really want to be totally accurate, you can call the GET people, and they'll tell you exactly what your value is.
Okay. Okay. So if I have two students, one a senior, one a sophomore, do I add both? Again, so all 529 plans are totaled up for the family. Okay.
Right, because it's a parent asset, so we need the whole family 529 value.
Okay. So yeah, you're asking me, would put it twice?
No, just put it in the parent section. Well, it's under that one section for parents that has student assets.
Yeah, just go ahead. Yeah, exactly. So just go ahead and list it once in that one section. Okay. Oh, here goes a good one. Where do timeshare values get input?
Now, be in the real estate section,
yep.
Other than your house.
That's right. And we send the info to you. Okay, so good question there. We definitely would like to get this information as soon as possible, but
I would say we like to start getting the information, like the verification information and stuff like that, as soon as you can, because once we get that information, we can start checking everything and making sure we got everything accurate. So the sooner the better. We really want to make sure all this is in, if possible, by December 15th. So we'll have time to do our work on making sure everything is done correctly. So when that January 1st time hits, we'll be ready to go and start pushing some buttons and getting all this information right uploaded to the FAFSA.
Yep, so definitely the sooner the better, okay? And so I see a good question here about if you have multiple children that are going to attend college, do you have to enter this information a lot of times? So that's a good question there. So not as much, okay? So of course the parent assets, the parent information is going to be consistent for all 3 kids, but each kid will get separate information for them. It'll be pretty quick. It's just, so those will be filling out the student side of things, and it shouldn't take more than 10, 15 minutes, half hour.
So I would say don't refill out the parent stuff, just the additional student.
Yep, and it'll be pretty straightforward there. Okay, do we have to put U.S. savings bonds down as assets for the student when they are in their name?
Yeah, but remember, those really count as a parent asset.
Okay, if employed only the employment field only gives an option of 1 year, minimum what do we enter? Yeah. So I definitely, so for the employment field, if you've only worked for a couple of months, just put the 1 year minimum in there. Yep. Okay, if our income is always similar, can we use our 2013 taxes to estimate the 2014 FAFSA until we actually file our taxes? A great question. It comes up quite a bit. So yeah, we're going to use estimates of those 2013 taxes. Do not wait on this process. One of the major mistakes of all time on the FAFSA is waiting to do all this once you have your taxes done. If you do that, you're going to miss out. Okay, so definitely we're going to use estimates and get it in quickly. Okay. Okay, great question. How secure is this information? Extremely secure. Okay, this is the whole point of it. Very secure website. It's designed to be secure. We are a financial company. A lot of people's information is in this. It is very secure. Okay. Okay, student first year at college now. When is a junior? Went to a junior due to AA, out of high school, and is working up 2 degrees. What do I put him down? Junior or senior? Okay, so asking about junior or senior, depending on AAs and what they studied in high school, your year in college is usually determined by your amount of credits. Okay, so you can find this out right from the admissions department. They'll say, well, I have many credits. This is what I'm considered. And most of the time, I would say considered as a junior for this situation, because when you're a senior, that means you only have a certain amount of classes going. You need to graduate, and you also have to, for many schools, of course, petition for your graduations, so to let them know you're ready. So most of the time it's junior, but again, the admissions department will let you know this based off your credits. Okay, so if your child is past 18 as of August 1st, do I put under children then? Well, I think I would say yes to that.
For what?
So if your child is 18 as of August 1st, do I put under children then?
For what under children?
Not quite sure on the question, but again, children are considered to be dependents for financial aid until they are 24, get married, or have children themselves.
So yeah, so they would be under children because they're not independent.
Right. So for the get credits, again, do we report the amount of money paid to buy the credits or the cash out of value?
Cash out value.
The cash out value, the value of the get credits. Sibling savings bonds must be reported then. Right? Yes, that's a parent asset, correct, yep. So you'll see the question on there. It asks about total value of assets of children under 19, so yes. Yeah, so the parent profile for the private colleges, any charges for information with renewing students? A lot of colleges don't require the CS profile 2 years in a row. Some do. Okay, so there would be a small charge, of course, to file it again. It's pretty nominal, though. I think it's right around $12, $18 at the most.
Anyway, check with your college to see if they require the profile. Many times they don't require it past the first year.
That's correct.
But they'll want a FAFSA.
Yep. Those with a small business LLC won't have exact numbers until an accountant completes their work. We estimate and then edit it later?
Yes.
Yep. Should we claim Roth stock account? Okay, so should we claim Roth stock account? Well,
No. A Roth is a form of an IRA,
yep.
so that does not count against you. It's just so an IRA.
Yep, just the yearly contributions. There is a section for that.
No, not on the Roth.
Oh, not for the Roth. Okay.
Now the Roth, since you're not deducting it from your income when you put money into the Roth, you don't have to count the Roth because they're only talking about
That's right.
money that's put into these different retirement accounts that's deducted from your income for taxes.
Okay, so here's a question about continuing to file FAFSA for graduate degree. Absolutely. Okay, so of course there's not as much financial aid available for graduate students, but if you want any kind of loans or work study to qualify for that, which many graduate students do, is work study and get loans, then you must fill out a FAFSA.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if they're going to a graduate degree, most of the time it will not be on the parents' information.
So it's going to be independent, exactly. Yep.
So it'll be on the student's information. So that will mean that they could have much lower EFC and hopefully get more financial aid that way.
And the next question talks about a second undergraduate degree. Again, you get that first graduate. You got past that. So even with the second graduate, you're kind of post.
I don't know.
I've looked into that. Okay. No, so the 529 is different from the GET. That's here.
Well, 529 prepaid tuition plan, also known as GET. Yeah, so the GET is a form of the 529. So it's under the 529 section, you put 529 money or GET money.
All your house pay is just your mortgage. We rewrite down tax and insurance.
No, keep out the tax and insurance as far as your payment. We're just looking for principal and interest.
What parent income do you use as joint custody?
Oh, we should talk about that.
Definitely need to talk about that. If you have joint custody, we should talk about that because depending on the situation, can possibly use the parent's information that's most advantageous for the FAFSA. Okay. Looks like we have about $120 per unit on the GET.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, we pretty much can figure out the value of your GET credits and add them up. There we go. So which section do we place deferred compensation plan monies? Deferred comp?
Yeah, so deferred compensation money, that's just like that's like 401k plans, the same area, because it's money that you put into a retirement account that you're able to deduct off your taxes. So as long as you're getting a tax deduction for it, we want to know how much you're putting into that. But as far as the asset itself, we don't count that as an asset because it's retirement money.
Okay. If we submit asset information, stocks, mutual funds, the values will change between when we fill out the form. At the end of the year, do we update the information generated? There's information that we initially find on the form. Yep. I
say we'll just use information that you initially do because, you know, things are going to fluctuate based on how the market does. But if you're actually take out a bunch of money or something like that before we do the FAFSA, then we'll probably want to update it. Or maybe you add a bunch of money. Maybe you got some extra money, you threw it into some kind of mutual fund or savings account.
Yep. So kind of the goal here is for assets and mutual funds, we kind of pretty much fill it out. When we do the FAFSA, what the numbers are, that's what goes in there, of course. Okay. What amount of savings bonds is allowed before it goes against us? It all counts. So with savings bonds, it's constantly adding. And remember, there's an asset protection allowance for parents. It depends on how close you are to retirement. A lot of us, we have that information for you in your file. We've discussed with you. So it all counts against you, and that's why sometimes it's good to look into some options. Okay. Do we need to put in other siblings under 18 and get Coverdell amounts? Correct. So, so all the families Coverdells and 529s get added up. Okay.
My son took the SAT 3 times. His highest reading score was on 1. Can I? No.
So that's a good question perhaps for our guidance counselor. He's asking about taking the SAT multiple times and perhaps just picking the scores that are highest out of each test.
And typically it depends on the college, to tell you the truth. Some will take your highest score for each section, and others want just the highest total score. So for this purpose, I would just use the highest total score, because this really is not going to go anywhere, because when you actually apply to the schools, then you're using a different source to show them your SAT scores.
Okay. So the next one asks, did I understand correctly that a student's assets will not affect family contribution if they total $5,000 or less?
No, not assets.
Good question. So that was just, we're talking about income. Income, the student's working of $5,000 or less, then it's not going to be too big a deal. For income, we definitely like to see, for assets, we definitely like to see the savings accounts and other assets below $1,000 if possible. If you need some help talking about strategies to do that, we're available. But yeah, I would definitely like to see the students' assets below $1,000 and below $5,000 for their work.
Because there's no asset protection allowance for the students. Just, and remember Chris was talking about the asset protection allowance. That's only for the parents. So all student assets from $1 will count.
And good point here that kind of next talks about it. Good job, folks. You're having some good questions that are kind of connected here. For our child savings account, I can open a new account in the adult's name.
Right. That's the way to do it.
Yep. So just open another. Parents are, of course, allowed to have more assets. Okay. Where do you find if your college, your children are applying to need the extra information? Oh, so yeah, kind of asking find out if they need the profile. Where do you find out if the college needs a profile? Let us know. Give us a call. Again, on this form, as you put your schools in there, it will let you know. So put all the colleges in that you're considering. This form, this online form, it will let you know if it's a profile school or not. If it's still unsure, let us know, and we'll let you know. So just go ahead and put down all the schools in there that you're considering applying to, that you're interested in, all of them, and it'll let you know, or we will. Okay, if an aunt or uncle wants to gift the student the maximum amount, is it better to gift the student a parent or direct to the school to pay the tuition? That's a fun question.
Well, you want it to go directly to the school, because otherwise if they gift money to a parent, it's going to count as a parent asset. If they gift money to the student, it's going to count as a student asset. If they just pay the school directly, it's going to just pay the school and it's not going to show up anywhere.
Yep. So where the money comes from, that doesn't really matter if it's going to be paid right to the school. That's a good question. That's an excellent way to think about it there. So definitely don't want it to go to the student. Okay, well, that's all the questions we have, it looks like. Gone about an hour here.
So I think we've gone pretty good, you guys. I think you had a lot of great questions. If any further questions arise, don't hesitate to email us, and Chris or Gina or myself will answer those questions. And if we need to have a discussion about anything, about strategies, what to do, how to shelter things, we can always have a quick phone conversation or schedule a regular meeting. I know our schedules are pretty busy now. It's a very busy time of year. So if you do need a meeting, just let us know, and we'll try to get one scheduled as soon as we can. But if it's just a simple question, usually we can answer that pretty easily in an email.
All right. Well, I think that's about it for tonight. If we have any more questions, feel free to give us an email. Really enjoyed your questions and your participation, all of you being here. Again, this will be at our website where we're doing now, just kind of reviewing everything that's going on. I don't see any questions that are up. Okay. Oh, I see a couple more come up. So yeah, we have time. We might as well answer a couple more. Why not? After what day will it be possible to audit the form of the FAFSA? That's a great question there. So we can always make corrections for quite a while, okay? But definitely want to get these corrections. I would say strategically, we want to make any corrections and all that good stuff before we update with the taxes, because the tax update is coming. It's necessary. So making sure that we make any corrections that need to happen or updates before the taxes or the final update with the taxes will be in great shape. Okay. Here goes another good one. Whose income do we use if the divorce decree allows marriage?
So whoever claims the student as a dependent for taxes does really not affect whose income and assets we use on the FAFSA. Because one is a taxable event that talks about who gets the claim there, and so that could be one parent could claim the student for whatever reason to get the tax savings, and the other parent could be the custodial parent. So those two don't necessarily are the same. Sounds very good.
Sounds about right. Okay, when is the deadline for exact tax numbers to be added on the FAFSA for final submission? Great question. So I'd say we definitely want it in before the tax deadline as soon as possible. That's why I mentioned in the beginning, please get your taxes done as soon as possible. That is a very big part of this. The money is at a first come, first served basis. So getting those taxes done as soon as possible is very important, because there's another tool called the IRS data retrieval tool that many of you will become familiar with here soon. And your taxes have to be filed with the IRS here for a little bit of time before it will register. What that allows it to do is bring the numbers right in from the IRS, right into your FAFSA, which is the school likes because they know the numbers are accurate. So please get your taxes done as soon as possible. Okay, so I see here we have a couple hands raised. So let's see if we can unmute a couple of these people so they can answer questions. Hello, Kathy, can you hear me? Are you there, Kathy? Oh, Kathy, okay. Let's try. Lynn, can you hear me, Lynn? Hello, Lynn. Well, perhaps these people have already left. You are unmuted, Lynn. Okay. 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 Looks like that's about everyone. I don't see any questions. Well, we've had a great webinar. Hopefully we've had a lot of people here. Let's try another one. Can you hear me, Brian?
Yeah, Chris, I can.
Excellent. How's it going?
Hi, Brian.
It's going really good. Hi, Stuart. Hi, Chris. You were exceptionally proficient, and you already answered my question. I was not as proficient in lowering my hand.
Well, we weren't as proficient as answering raised hands, so that's okay, Brian.
Oh, anyways,
Good
yeah.
to hear you. Thanks for being on the call.
No problem. Everything looks very, very helpful, so I'll start populating it.
Very good. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. Have a good evening. Okay. Well, thanks, Brian. That was great. Somebody answered there. Always love to hear from you folks, so we're here to help. Okay. Well, I think that is about it. So let's see if there's any more questions on the board. Oh, I see here. Christine Davidson's answering our question. Thanks, Christine. They have to select external mic, okay? So perhaps you folks have to, let's see here. Hello. Oh, sorry, everyone. We actually had a little technical difficulty there. A lot of you folks have already left the call. We're back just to say goodbye. If any of you have any further questions, just let us know. We'll be on here for a couple more minutes if you have anything else. But we're back. So had a really great call tonight. Hopefully we answered many of your questions. Again, just make sure to keep an eye out for this email. If you haven't got it by December 1st, make sure you let us know. We can get it out to you. Great to have you back. Thanks, Christine. Thanks, Keith and Patty. Glad to have you all here. If there's no further questions, though, I think we just came back to say goodbye.
Right. So goodbye, everybody. We're looking forward to a great FAFSA season, getting all the FAFSAs done in the best way possible for you. This will, again, enable us to get them out earlier, more effectively and efficiently and accurately. So we're looking forward to this new system, and have a good Thanksgiving, and take care.
Great. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Oh, I see one question from Carly. You want to answer that?
Sure.
Okay, Carly, asking about it. So in the business section, do I estimate the value of the business? Right here. So in the business section, do I estimate the value of the business?
Yes, you do. Just estimate the value. Again, it's not going to really count for the FAFSA if we have it in a S corporation or an LLC, and you have less than 100 employees.
Yep. So that means we'll fall under the small business exclusion. So very good. All right. Well, with that, I think that there are finally no more questions. So again, thanks to all, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a good night.